trying to channel my inner Penelope Garcia from Criminal Minds, y'all, with my glasses. And, you know, these are the boring glasses. I have nothing sparkly and beautiful as far as eyewear. So, you know, I did what I could, but if anybody out there is listening in Criminal Minds fan territory, if you've got some kind of Penelope Garcia Glass Connection website, just let me know, because I need to get something appealing here with some bright blue or something. I don't know, you know, sparkles, whatever it is. I've got to jazz up my eyewear situation here. So please leave me some comment. I've been playing with duct tape. As you can see here, my little hair bows. This was the first hair bow that I did for fall. You can just slide it into your hair. These that I made today are hair breadths. They just pop right open and you put them in your hair. You can do like what I've done. You can have two of them right here on your, sort of like in pigtails. They have the camouflage and the polka dots, and I just think they turned out so cute. Very simple to make if you have a lot of duct tape, which I know a lot of us do. This is a great way to use it up. Okay, so I'm just taking these bottle caps. They are plain metallic on one side and then they're colored on the other side, but I want them to look like this bottle cap. See how it's flattened, whereas this is kind of raised. You'll want to flatten this to where it kind of curls these edges up for you to make sort of like a frame. Take your steel block, and I've just put it on a spare piece of wood that my husband had. I'm taking my dead blow hammer that I use in metal stamping, and instead of hitting it with the smaller brass edge, I'm going to actually hit it with the rubberized side that is about the size of my bottle cap. The biggest thing is you want your edges here that are the indents. You want those to kind of curl up and act as a frame. So here I have got some glue. I've got some Dazzle Tack, which is some jewelry glue, and then also some E6000. A lot of crafty people like to use the E6000 glue. The Dazzle Tack gives a little bit, when it dries, it still has a little bit of flexibility with it. So it's very good for beaders that like to use that stretchy cord. They put a dab of this glue on the stretchy cord, and then it kind of moves and flexes with the cord. Well, I just prefer to use the E6000 whenever I am putting rhinestones on metal, or you're trying to glue glass to metal or metal to metal. Anything like that is really good for the E6000. Anytime you're trying to keep a knot tied in your jewelry, even when you're doing those leather bracelets, or you're working with any kind of cording and you're gluing the ends of your cord into the clasps, you can use this Dazzle Tack. Be sure that if you get any of this E6000 or even the Jewelry Tack glue on your hands, you've got like a wet baby wipe or a wet paper towel. I usually like to do the baby wipes because then I don't have any kind of paper towel residue coming off on my hands as I'm trying to get the glue off. Toothpicks in this glue is your friend. I mean, these have little tiny applicator heads to them, and you can also buy some specifically as attachments when you open this glue up, because the glue does kind of like to flow out even when you're not squeezing it, and you'll find that when you're opening these tubes. With a toothpick, you can just open these up, put your little dot onto a paper towel. I've got some little glittery epoxy dome stickers, and this is really handy to use instead of resin. A lot of people don't like to mix resin. I do use some resin in some other projects. Like this little gizmo right here, I just cut out an image and then layered it in some resin. The bottom is glitter and then the top is just clear over my image. If you prefer to do that, you could put your glue your image onto your bottle cap metal base here, and then you could use a brush or a toothpick, or use the doming method of pouring a little bit of resin on top of your image for these bottle caps. Or you could do it the easy way. You got to be careful that you get the kind that remains clear for a good length of time, because as the epoxy ages, just like resin, sometimes if you get a poor quality of resin or these epoxy stickers, they will yellow with age. But this has glitter in it, and then you can also get it just plain, all I did is I just printed these images. You can get all sorts of images for digital downloads on Etsy, and then print them with your own printer. I have an inkjet printer. I use the 4x6 photo setting, and I use whatever photo paper is on sale. And you can either do this on 8.5 by 11 letter size sheet of photo paper and just select 2 so that it makes 2 copies of the bottle cap image file in the 4x6 setting, or you can choose 1 sheet at a time of 4x6 photo paper specifically, and then run that one at a time through your printer. Or if you have a whole bunch of images and you want it to be printed professionally on like a laser printer, you can send these to either Kinko's. You can do, I believe UPS will also do it, FedEx will do it. This is a 1-inch circular punch, and I just position this into the center, and I'm holding it right now so that it doesn't kind of flippy flop through. I want to hold this steadily, and I want to be sure that I don't see any white around my perimeter, and then just punch it out. Okay, this one is going to be the glittery kind because this K is going to a little gal. So I'm just taking off the backing, being very careful to hold it with my thumb as I pull the backing off so that my fingertip is not actually going on top of the underside of my epoxy sticker. And I'm holding the edges of this clear overlay, and then I'm just kind of going down on top of my image, trying to keep it centered. And then see how I've got the little overlay of plastic that's still on it? Then I can just kind of, it doesn't matter how I'm pushing around on that image because I have the epoxy sticker protected, and now the image is protected from my fingertips. So I'm just putting this glue here. Just get it all the way around in this little impression here. You don't want to go over that. There's a dip, and then there's a raised area, and you're going to be taking your punch into the dipped area in order to punch a hole if you're hanging these on earrings or a necklace or anything like that. So you want to try to be sure that you line that up with your image straight. That way how you see it hanging on a necklace or an earring or whatever it is that you're doing is going to be straight with where you're going to punch for the hole. So in my case, I'm just going to pop that on. You want to push the edges as well. I usually like to let anything that I'm gluing dry overnight. I've got several that I did yesterday that have already dried overnight, and begin to stick them, or actually hot glue them, onto my bow ties and my hair bows. If I were going to punch a hole into this so that I could hang it off of a necklace or whatnot, this is my little contraption so that I can punch a hole in a bottle cap or any actually any kind of like metal stamping piece where it doesn't already have a pre-existing hole. What I would do is I would come in here into that, see that little dip right there? It's a perfect spot to try to punch the hole. And if I'm punching the hole, see how it's going to be straight? I coordinated my image that has some of this kind of zebra, Halloween-y zebra at the top here with this camouflage duct tape. I'm using these hair barrettes that pop open to make this particular version with, and I like this style because it kind of fans out. I saw this on a gentleman's YouTube channel, and I'll put the link down to his video as well. I had 2 different types of my duct tape that I got at the Dollar Tree, and the polka dots and the camouflage Halloween-y colors. You want to coordinate your colors, so you may not want to do matchy-matchy. You may want to do a contrasting color. I could use this patterned duct tape and then use a solid instead of this polka dot. So what you'll need is to have 3 7-inch strips of duct tape, whichever one that you want to be your main design, which in my case is going to be this camouflage Halloween duct tape, and then just the 1 7-inch strip in my polka dot design, because that's what's going to be running through my center here. And then I'm also going to need a little bit of that to wrap around the entire bow first so that everything is attached well, and then I'll need another piece to go around the center in order to attach it to my hair clip. If you've got one of these self-healing cutting mats, they're really handy because each square is 1 inch. So it really helps you to lay down and measure out your pieces of duct tape, sort of like how I have this up here. And then you'll use your X-Acto knife, which works best for this kind of a duct tape project, because if you try to cut with scissors, even the non-stick duct tape scissors, you're going to be kind of at an angle as you're cutting, which can kind of mess you up. Whereas with an X-Acto knife, you're cutting directly on the board, on the lines that you need, and it will be a little bit easier to keep your pieces straight. I'm using the two pieces, the top and the bottom piece are going to be in this camouflage color, and then I'm using the middle strip as the polka dot colors. Just going to take it, lay it down at the beginning of my square. You're not going to want to stick it onto your board all the way, because then it'll be stuck to your board and it's harder to pull off, and then it warps the tape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 squares, so be careful when you're cutting these. If you're a child, I'd say maybe 11 and under, you want to be sure that you have your parents helping you. And then you're just pulling that tape off. Then I'm going to count in half. 1, 2, 3 and a half. And right there is my halfway point. So I'm going to put my cutting edge of my X-Acto knife down. And on that line, I'm just going to come straight down. Try to keep it as straight as you can. You're going to be using these lines up here and below here as a guide. If you need to, you could always take a pin and then draw a line down that duct tape as you're cutting, but if you do that, then you've got, you know, a line of tape. Then you're just using your edge of your X-Acto knife to pick up your tape, and see it is still kind of sticky. You turn it over, and as best as you can, try to keep it off of your fingers. And sometimes I find if I hold it at the side like that, then I kind of wiggle away. Whee! I'm taking my X-Acto knife to help me lift that up off of the board, and even though I didn't push it all the way, you can see this tape wanted to hang on to the board. But now I'm just going to be lining up this duct tape. Try to center it, lay it down, and then smooth it out. Done a stack here of pieces ready to make into hair bows. I cut a 3-inch piece of tape that I'm going to be using to cut lengthwise, because the longer strip is going to be necessary once you've assembled your bow in order to wrap all the way around and getting that hair breadth in there. So that's going to be your final piece. You'll need a shorter piece initially, and the regular size of your duct tape is about 1 3/4 of an inch as far as the, I guess, the width of your roll of duct tape. I'm going to cut off the shorter piece now of the 2-inch width that I was talking about, so that I can wrap these 3 pieces here together. Depending on how wide you want your gap to be in your bow, you can do a very thin, you know, like a little bit over 1/4 of an inch, or you can do a 1/2 an inch like I did. I'm going to do a thicker piece, 1/2 an inch. Longer piece is what I'm going to use then to wrap around the actual hair bread itself. Get all of your pieces even. So I'm going to fan fold these pieces of duct tape. I'm folding it in half, and I want to make sure that I'm getting a good crease. Then I'm taking 1/2 of it and folding it in half back up to the spine, and then I'm just flipping it over and making the other fold. That way it's kind of like a little accordion. Now normally I would take my little binder clip and clip her on there just like I did these other 2 here, so it would hold my little folds, but I am not going to do that on the 3rd piece, because then I've got to unclip the other 2 and start stacking it. Keep the mountains, my 2 mountain peaks, facing me in my bows. I don't want the valleys facing me, because you see how the rough edges of the duct tape would be facing up then if I did it like that. So I want to have the little mountain peaks, that's what I like to call them, because I am originally from East Tennessee Smoky Mountains, making my little duct tape bow sandwich. You can trim these up later if you're having a hard time with them being a little bit longer. I'm trying to keep the bulk of it centered. And you want to be sure that you're keeping that in line with your other piece. So now I'm holding on to that, and now I'm grabbing my third piece, and this is also with the fold up. Now I've got all of my little pieces that are folded up. I've got them all together, and if you've got them even, you're gonna be able to especially tell here. So it does look like when I go to trim off my little corners that I'm going to be trimming this piece just a little bit more because it's a little bit longer. I've got these together, and then I want to find the middle. So now I'm going to grab that short piece. Sometimes what works best for me is I take the piece and I lay it right on top of what I think is the middle. Now another way you could do this is you could put your binder clips back on both ends of these. And you want to try to do this as tightly as possible because you want your center to be tight. This is also where you're going to try to keep things lined up every time that you're wrapping. This is just ever so slightly more to the right than it should be. Now I'm still going to be okay with that because I have my other piece of tape is going to go over the hairbreadth, and so when I do that, because I'm using a bottle cap to embellish my hair bow, I can actually fix this little issue by overlapping this other piece of tape here. Even though you're going to see the other little piece of tape peeking through, I'm going to kind of put it over here just a hair to the left whenever I put this piece of tape on my hairbreadth. That way when I wrap it, it's going to eat up a little bit more section over here to the left, and then my fan folds are going to look like that they kind of match. I'm going to go ahead and cut off my length. You can freehand this cut, that's what I've been doing, and I want to have the sticky side up. So here's the upper part of my hair bow. I'm turning it upside down to where you see the little springy portion, and I know that I want my sticky side up, so that means I'm going to be putting this tape in with the design facing me at the moment. I want to do it right here in the middle, and then when you flip your breadth where it's facing you again, see how your sticky side is up? Now it's ready to accept your lovely hair bow. So if you have a design like this one, it really doesn't matter because both ends are the camouflage. But if you have a design that it does matter, that maybe it's got some little cartoon character faces on it or something, and obviously you don't want your cartoon character face to be upside down whenever you're wearing your hair bow. And so since most people are right-handed, then you've got to be aware of that. But if it's just a generic design like this where there's no you know, up and down that's very visible, then it just becomes a matter of, okay, well, which end do I like better? So here is my facing, like as if it were into my hair, because this is my upper sticky part. So this is how I want the bow to look. Exactly how I'm holding is how I want the bow to look. So for me, I'm going to be turning this, now it's backwards, and I'm going to be putting it onto my breadth because that's how I would be putting it into my hair. So now what I want to do is I want to be sure that I have this centered, and because I don't have a problem with this one being too long or whatever like I did on the other bow, then I'm going to go ahead now just wrap. I want to just be sure that I'm getting it still, yeah, I'm still in the middle. To try to get as tight of a wrap as you can, because like I said, that is your weak point. Tuck your little end right here on the underside of your bow. Now another option is you can take a toothpick, dip it into some E6000 glue, and just kind of dab it along the edge of this duct tape here. Or you can even go and put another little piece of duct tape over the top of this just so that it doesn't come apart if you're worried that it might do that. Or still yet another option is to put just a little dot of hot glue and then hold it down. I have attached the hairbreadth, and you can see that even though I was kind of off to the left a little bit in mine, I ate up some of that distance, but my hairbreadth is still centered. Because it's just attached with the duct tape, it's going to be a little wiggly, and that is just simply because you've only got it attached with duct tape. A lot of hair bows, a lot of people will either sew, if it's a fabric hair bow, they will sew that around their barrette or the alligator lined hair clip. They will hot glue that onto the swatch of fabric, whereas this has only got that little tiny area that's attached by duct tape. Now that for me is okay for the purpose of what I'm doing, that I'm just making these quick and easy little hair bows here that I'm sending to some friends and family. But if you were going to make these to sell, you might want to go ahead and consider using some of your hot glue. You know, you're still going to want to attach with the duct tape. When I put these bottle caps on, that's going to lend a little bit more strength for what I'm doing, because whenever somebody's holding their hairbreadth, they're going to probably be holding it by this bottle cap and the side as they're popping open their hairbreadth. So I'm taking my, this is my Fisker scissors that are used with duct tape so you don't get it all sticky and gross. Just coming through here and doing a trim off to make a curved little hair bow. Same thing on the other side. You want to try to make them similar. This is a handmade item. It's not supposed to be like a machine made bow that you can just purchase at Walmart, you know. This is something that's handmade by you, and it's special, and people are just gonna love it. Okay, so now I've got my ends done like that, but I don't have the inner ends. So when I separate these, if you notice, they're still square. You can either leave it like this, where you've just trimmed the upper and lower external edges, or you can even go in here and trim the inner edges here. Do a rounded edge. I did that on these, and let's see if you notice a difference. You kind of notice a difference because this looks more straight on this side, whereas these are more, I don't know, they look more fan. This one I am doing the inner edges, especially because this one is a little bit longer on two of my pieces of duct tape. So then I kind of pull this apart a little bit. I forgot, gotta do the other side. Do my embellishment. I'm going to just go ahead and assemble all of these little pieces and make some more hair bows, and then I'm going to make bow ties. I'm going to put these bottle caps onto the little bows here on the hair breadths that I created, and then that will have them all finished up. Several of them are already done up here, and I've just been using hot glue. I'm going to put a dime size of hot glue here in the center, and then you can also have some that's right here on the what I call the mountain folds. Biggest thing is you want to put a good amount, at least right here in the very center, and you may even want to extend your glue just a little bit to where you have some on the ridges, because you do have such a large surface area with your bottle cap here. I'm leaving that little overlay piece on my bottle cap as I'm pressing down, because, you know, I was talking about the fingerprint deal. So I'm taking my glue gun, I'm just putting a nice glob right there in the center. Now you see mine's starting to run down, but that's okay. Taking your finger with the lovely silicone glue tip on and pushing that glue right back down. I also like to kind of blow on it so that it kind of cools a little bit faster. But you see how that was a big blurb running down and now it's not? There's not really anything on the other side. I want to flip this back over. Be sure my letter is centered in the bow, which it is. Here are my hair bows. You see they've got some little sparkly monograms on top of the duct tape bows that I made. And now here is my first bow tie. I put a pin back. That way they can just clip this to whatever little shirt he's going to be wearing. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed my video of all my sparkly Halloween hair bows. Let me know in the comments how you like the look of these, and if you receive these as a gift, please take a picture of yourself and pop it into my Instagram with the hashtag Sparkle by Monica, or even the Facebook or Twitter. Just do the same, but I can see how pretty y'all look in the lovely hair bows. Kisses and hugs and sparkly spider bugs for Halloween, y'all. The spooky, sparkly Halloween.